On the 19th of August 1942, the Allies launched an amphibious attack on the German-occupied port of Dieppe in northern France. Around 6,500 Allied infantry soldiers took part in the operation, most of whom were inexperienced Canadians from the 2nd Infantry Division. However, US Army Rangers, Royal Marines, and French commandos also took part in the raid. The infantry was supported by a regiment of Churchill tanks with armored Daimler Scout cars and Universal carriers. They were put ashore by the Royal Navy with air cover from the Royal Air Force. The new British Churchill tanks first saw combat during the Dieppe Raid. Nearly 60 Churchills from the 14th Army Tank Regiment were allocated to support the infantry units. These tanks, a mixture of Mark I with hull howitzers, Mark II with flamethrowers, and Mark IIIs, were expected to enter the town and reach a nearby airfield before retreating to the beach to be taken off. Half of the tank force would be held in reserve offshore. In the event, the German defenses were stronger than expected. The beach was churned, which included larger stones than the anticipated shingle. Only the 30 Churchills in the first two waves were landed on the beach under heavy fire. The latter two waves were turned away. One was trapped in its LCT by shell fire, and 11 other Churchills were immobilized on the beach. So altogether 15 would get off the beach and over the seawall onto the Dieppe promenade. Although these tanks were ineffective in engaging the defenders in the town's building, their further progress was blocked by concrete defenses. The engineer demolition teams, killed or pinned on the beach, had not been able to accompany the tanks. 10 of the Churchills were able to return to the beach once the withdrawal had been signaled, but they could not be evacuated. But it is also true that no Churchills were penetrated by German anti-tank fire while still manned. These surviving tank crews fought to cover the withdrawal of the infantry from the beach, and almost all were captured with their vehicles, having exhausted their main gun ammunition. The tank regiment's commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Johnny Andrews, was among those killed in action. The capture of a copy of the Dieppe plan allowed the Germans to analyze the entire operation. General Gerd von Rundstedt, the commander-in-chief of the German forces in the West, criticized the plan's rigidity, saying that the plan is in German terms not a plan. It is more like a position paper or the intended course of an exercise. The Germans were equally unimpressed by the British tanks. The German inspection team wrote the following report after their examination of the Churchill tanks left behind. The armor of the tank is very thick, but the material is poor and does not compare with the armor used on German or Soviet tanks. This is also shown by the effects of the fire against the tanks. The track is made of very brittle material and is of a clumsy design. It fractures every time it receives a direct hit, a thing which does not occur with German and Russian tracks. The armor offers a considerable angle of impact. However, the shape is not modern. In conclusion, it may be said that the English Churchill tank in its present form is easy to combat. However, the German experts found the British tank waterproofing methods noteworthy. They reported, the tanks were covered at all the connecting joints with gummed cords. All cracks and openings were in addition coated with sealing substances. The crew were able to blow off the gummed cords from the access door after landing with the aid of a small explosive tape. The exhaust pipes were extended at the rear up to the height of the top of the turret. The 3 air inlet and extraction openings were protected against entry of water by sheet metal chimneys. The German report then went on to record how some of the Churchill tanks were put out of operation. They observed that in most cases, hits on the tracks produced results in every case, even if hit by the smaller 3.7 cm German anti-tank gun. With a broken track, the tank could no longer operate. German inspectors noted that other abandoned Churchill tanks showed signs of being hit on their armor by 3.7 cm or 5 cm anti-tank gun rounds, but, as previously mentioned, without penetration. The Germans also noted that several vehicles became stuck in the shingle. Tracks also apparently broke as a result of being jammed by shingle picked up and carried onto the upper run of the tracks. The German army inspectors carried out firing trials at Dieppe against the armor of the captured British tanks using all available types of anti-tank weapons and ammunition. These results were also detailed in their report. All in all, the Germans were generally pleased with their successful defense, whilst noting faults in their own communications, transport, and location of support forces, but recognized that the Allies were certain to learn some lessons from the operation and set about improving the fixed defenses. As the overall theater commander in the West, General Rundstedt was adamant that the Germans must learn the lessons of Dieppe. He was anxious that the Germans were not left behind in learning. He later stated, "Just as we gained the most valuable experience from the day of Dieppe, the enemy has learned as well. Just as we evaluate the experience for the future, so will the enemy. Perhaps he will do this to an even greater extent because he had paid so dearly for it." I hope you enjoyed this episode, and to make sure you don't miss my future work, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel and press the bell notification button. Thank you, and see you in the next video.